Hey, what up? How's it going? Today I wanted to make a video about um, a top seven list. They Will Kill You is a YouTube channel, and they did a video that I watched called Was Chappelle Corby Innocent? She was a woman who was accused of smuggling marijuana into Indonesia. And some are seriously considering the idea that she is actually innocent. Um, this is more or less, on the back burner. I forget when the video was even made. Well, it was made in June 2019, so yeah, it is fairly new, I suppose. Um, seem to remember her being released or something like that. I don't really care. But it reminded me of the Terminator, actually, of all things. And you may go, well, what about that could remind you about the Terminator? And it's quite simple. Um, Sarah Connor, the original Terminator movie, 1984, arguably the best Terminator movie. Terminator 2 was okay, but Arnold Schwarzenegger played a far better bad guy Terminator than he did a good guy one. I'm sorry, that's how it is. I mean, Terminator 1984 didn't have the graphics or capability or the money that the sequels had, but it was a better movie in my opinion, anyway. Um, okay, so the parallel I'm trying to make is how did Sarah Connor end up, in a mental asylum, a prison-styled one? And there's a lot of misconceptions about that whole sort of scenario when Terminator 2 came out in 1991. For starters, I mean, in the mental health system, if you know anything about it, nobody is in crazy good shape. They're just not. I mean, from a physical standpoint as well as mental, but we're talking about the physical standpoint at this point in time. They're not. They give you medication that makes you fat, makes you lazy, it causes all kinds of health ailments that linger on and on and on and on and on. And Sarah Connor in the second movie, played by Linda Hamilton, I really despise what they actually did to her. Like, if you see her metamorphosis from the 1984 Terminator movie to 1991, you will see her transform into a bitter old crow. And that ain't cool, yo. It isn't cool. And I could see a version of this story that's not often told. It's the bureaucracy's fault. Okay, you take Edward Furlong. He plays the son in the Terminator. What was it called? But it doesn't matter. It was made in 1991. The one with Edward Furlong, the second movie. You take him for an example, and the only reference he has to his mother is that she was a nut job and that um, she tried to blow up a computer factory. Now let's remember how Terminator 1984 ended. It ended when the Terminator got crushed by the machine because Sarah Connor was able to climb out of it first and push the button to compress the machine. What exactly it did, I don't know. What that whole factory did, nobody really knows. Doubt a factory of any kind ever existed that looked like that. Exactly. I'm sure various components were for other things, but whether they were all combined and did those specific tasks, I highly doubt it. Anyway, you may go, okay, suppose the bureaucracy lied. Suppose she didn't really blow up the computer factory. She was just found there with a robotic arm that they'd never seen before, with the remains of a robotic um, cyborg, not robot, cyborg, uh, individual crushed in a machine, and they didn't have an explanation for it. Reese, the guy from the future with no paperwork or anything to identify himself, is now dead because he, sort of blew himself up with with the Terminator, which didn't actually stop the Terminator, if people remember that movie quite correctly. Um, so originally, when the gun battle ensues between um, Reese, Linda Hamilton's in the side seat, Sarah Connor, and the Terminator, which leads to Reese's capture and interrogation. At this point in time, this is when Dr. Silberman arrives. And immediately he's questioning the man. And, he was right to do that. I mean, he came from the future and he was firing a weapon and he crashed into a wall in a Cadillac. I mean, I guess that would make perfect sense. The problem is, at the end of the movie, he died. He was dead in the factory. So, there they are with this robotic arm that they've never seen before. Had no idea that technology even existed. And they're like, well, we don't have an excuse as to why this thing happened. And who else are we going to keep out of this situation? It's not like the military wouldn't have been interested. And, the military, if you know anything about them, they don't really give a rat's ass if one person's life is turned upside down. So they need a scapegoat. So they went, all right, Reese is dead. Terminator's destroyed. The only witness left really is Sarah Connor. And therefore, I believe that she was treated as a special patient and also treated far differently than any other mental health patient. Um, I believe, as an alternate theory, that the whole her blowing up a computer chip factory or trying to do that, which John Connor was told, and he was put into foster home. I think that's a complete load of shit. I don't actually believe that story. I think that's what they told him. I mean, I don't even know how old he was when Terminator 2 was made and supposedly the timeline for it. So they would have told him anything. They'd have told him she thought that she saw, purple moon men or something like that. Who knows? Um, and it was odd because obviously she had had a transformation. She was far more bitter. She was determined. She became that military leader that she was supposed to be. And she changed from who she was back in the first movie, as some people well know. And the thing is, the woman in the first movie couldn't hurt a dandelion, let alone. I mean, she even makes a reference that she can't even keep her checking book in order or something like that. And in the next movie, ass as hard as a rock. It does pull ups and is physically fit and all this sort of stuff, which, you know, seeing as I know what mental health is like, guess what? Working out is very, very difficult. Uh, any high paced exercise is very fucking difficult. It's more difficult than it would be if you were not under that care, unless they treated her like a special patient and they did other things. I mean, they do show a little bit of bureaucratic corruption when that guy, one of the, nurse prisoners, licks her face while she's, half comatose. By the way, I don't feel a shred of pity for that guy. Not a shred. I don't just mean the character. I mean him as a person. He never had another role after that, really, that was noteworthy. I mean, I don't know of any. And I don't feel a shred of pity. He was a disgusting individual. Um, How did Sarah Connor muster all these strength? Part of this is the propaganda scheme that people aren't supposed to really know what mental health, what an insane asylum, psychiatric ward, mental hospital, whatever you want to call it. They're not supposed to know what it is, because if they know what it is, then that fucks everything up, doesn't it? People know that there are a bunch of shitheads out there that act within the law and act like shitheads. And they don't deserve praise or respect. I certainly don't praise or respect them. Some people do because they don't know who they are. I don't know who they are, but I know enough about them to know that they, yeah, well, you know, they're trash. And they may turn around and call me trash. That's exactly what they would do because their logic is actually quite predictable. But deep down, the truth is, even if only one person believes the truth, then that's all that matters because that's the truth. Anyway, Sarah Connor makes an escape. Supposedly, okay, with the help of the Terminator, but it coincided when the Terminator and John Connor were arriving to pick her up. This fanciful kind of, thriller type, exciting prison break. And it's like, supposing they were just building her up to knock her down. I mean, because obviously she'd been in the mental asylum for a number of years. If it was coinciding from when she was behind the machine, when the Terminator was being crushed and only the arm remained, and when John Connor was in his early teenage years, a number of years would have had to pass since then. And this is also taking into account that, okay, let's play the idea that she didn't try to blow up a computer factory um, right away. That the authorities decided that they're gonna let her be, and then later she was able to manifest into this person who would go and do something like that. Hold the fucking phone. They got a fucking space age cyborg arm. And the only living witness is her. And she is supposed to be, oh, go away. We don't need you anymore. We're too busy with this nice, shiny cybernetic arm. You don't understand how weaselly mental health professionals are and how fucking sneaky and covert and manipulative and downright sleazy they really are. They were on her like flies on a lump of shit. No joking. Like I'm like, yeah, she was gonna go out and manifest into this, very bitter, strong-willed, determined, by any means type of person, and Dr. Silberman and his cronies didn't know about it. We're supposed to believe that? What a crock of shit. A total crock of shit. Most people don't look at it this way. I bet you won't find many YouTube videos that talk like this. You won't. Hell, I don't even know if my video is going to make it through, but we'll see. I mean, sure as hell, nobody talks to me about my YouTube videos, so I don't know. But, so yeah, okay. Did Dr. Silverman, as he did say to Reese, or not to Reese, about Reese, I should say, in the first movie, do you understand that what he said doesn't require shredded proof? I can make a career out of this guy. And this is what psychiatrists, mental health, all those type of people do. Is they're misery fucking vampires. They need a dose of fucking vitamin D sunlight to fucking barbecue their asses. Hitler missed a few in the fucking ovens. That's not nice. However, oddly appropriate in this context. Yeah. So I mean, like, okay, this monolithic Discovery at the time, 1984, let's pretend it's 1984 back then. Their computers weren't that great. That was a sophisticated arm, and they were baffled by it. They let Sarah Connor go, and she's able to develop into this person, as I described, as being determined, irrational, and militaristic. And they didn't have any part in that, didn't know anything about it, and only pounced on her afterwards when she supposedly tried to blow up a computer factory. Fuck you. I don't believe that story. I think they were fucking there the whole time and they were just winding her up like a jack in the box until they got what they wanted. And then the supposed escape from her, which coincided with the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Edward Furlong, um, arriving into that exact mental asylum and her being able to escape. Um, you know, they build people up to tear them down. And I can't help but think that, that they do and still do shit like that to people. Because it's actually not very difficult to stalk somebody if you're in a bureaucratic position. It's not really at all, depending on the rank of individual you are and then what you tell your underlings. It's not difficult at all. A lot of people go, "Oh, that's science fiction." Oh, go back to Total Recall or something, and it's like, no, you shithead. With social media, and you don't even have to be on it, they got your passport picture, they got your school photo, they got all that shit. And you know what? They do put it on the internet, and you can't even tell them not to do it. Because they'll do it anyway and tell you, if they even respond, that no, we have not done that. We would never lie. Bullshit. They always fucking lie. And it's really pathetic. I've always found it pathetic when individuals have to lie to get their way or get irrationally angry when you call them out when they're wrong because they expect, well, they can just distance themselves and it doesn't matter afterwards. And it's like, no, you still lied. And I know you lied. You know you lied. I have no respect for people like that. And I hope other people can understand that sort of stuff. Is that, yeah, beer trash or beer trash. And that's exactly the type of thing that could happen to somebody. Is that they groom them for the position they need them to be in for a story for the medical papers or whatever the fuck you want. And, you know, in the end, who is really to blame? The spider or the fly? And only a complete retard is going to blame the fly, which most people are going to do because they themselves are flies and the spider told them that it's the fly's fault. No, the fly is just a fucking crazy little insect that crashed into its web. And, it's not necessarily its fault that it crashed into the web. The web was there. And some people go, oh, that's to, enforce decent moral standards, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, is it really? Or is there a big, fat, ugly, disgusting spider that likes feasting on people, for its own financial gain by pursuing and promoting new age medications, which they have stocks in and make more money, and also the kickbacks and all that other shit. So, I actually was trying to swat a fly the other day, and I didn't think they could do this. But I got like a swinging door to my washroom, right? I close the door, and I go, look, this fly's not getting out of here alive. I know this for a fact. But somehow, I didn't think it could do that because, a door could be wide open and the fly cannot find its way out, or a window, for example. But it did like a swooping motion under. I swear, I didn't think they could do that, but I saw it, so they can. And like the little gap between my swing door for my washer. It's not a very big gap. It's like the tiniest gap ever. But somehow I was able to do that. And I saw it do this and I went, well, I never, I didn't think that could be done, but I did end up frying that fly though with my, Batman fly swatter. I did get it though because it was flying around in my room afterwards. Don't like flies. Flies are irritating. But this got nothing to do with what I was saying here. Um, I am proposing the idea that Sarah Connor is innocent. Uh, this wasn't necessarily talking about Chappelle Corby, although I recommend you watch that video uh, by the YouTube channel They Will Kill You. It's interesting. I didn't follow up the story or hear anything about it while it was happening, so I can't really, divulge whether it's true or not or whatever. I'm inclined to believe that she was innocent, although, piece of dirt, trash, whatever. Um, she should have served her sentence back in Australia, the entirety, and Australia shouldn't be pushed around by Indonesia. And I don't want to hear own countries have their own sovereign rights bullshit. Shut the fuck up. Um, this is a white person we're talking about here. As stupid as they are for traveling to fucking shitholes like fucking Indonesia in the first place. But, to each to their own. You get your dumbass surfers and fucking beach goers who fucking like going to places like that. With dictatorial militaristic governments running the country, because they like to go because it's cheap. That's their business, but they're not going to get any praise or welcome from me. In fact, if they do it and I tell them not to, then guess what? They're not going to be around me. I won't even feel bad about that. Anyway, that's not what this video was about. This video about Sarah Connor and how that video from They Will Kill You sort of reminded me of this. I mean, it had been a thought on my back burner for a little bit, going, was Sarah Connor really crazy? She didn't ever appear to be crazy, more so than whatever fucking medications they were pumping her with while she was in behind those closed doors and nobody was coming to see her, most especially John Connor and his step parents. And, sometimes the medical system does follow people around their whole lives because they become a medical experiment. And, these days with the advancement of, the internet and how they can observe people without actually having a physical body there and, sort of create conditions which encourage whatever behavior pattern they want. Like, for me, I do wonder what if it was their goal all along to get me to make YouTube videos, and they created a scenario which would have encouraged it within my own thought process. It has been an idea I'd had for a long time to make YouTube videos. So, like to me, it's like, no, you didn't manipulate me into doing that. I was gonna go, do what I was gonna do anyway. Um, However, you do have to be conscientious that it's a lot easier to observe somebody from afar and make predictions on, or so it would seem, on what you want to believe their behavior pattern will be, which is what psychiatrists do all the time. They're not very good at it, despite their training and how much they get paid and how weaselly they are. However, it is a thing. Um, and it's made all the easier with the internet. And I can't believe people believe the lies of these supposed respected members of the community. I mean, I sure as hell won't ever do it again. I know a lot about them, and they're not complimentary things. Um, so, okay, I've covered a lot of ground here, and Yeah, I pitched an idea. Hopefully, somebody will watch this and perhaps can elaborate on it in a more condensed version so that perhaps it could be a mainstream video on YouTube. Think about that. And another reason why I was mentioning this is because Sarah Connor is also in the new Terminator that is in post production. That could be all right. Maybe I'll watch it. I haven't watched too many of the new ones, especially the one with Christian Bale in it. But it wouldn't hurt really. Anyway, I've been on talking for 25 minutes. I'll talk to you people later. And yeah, fuck the system. Anyway, have a good one.